Yeah, so that was the point though, is that I think this is what a lot of like economists use as to why a deflationary system. Obviously, Bitcoin is not deflationary; it's neutral, but it makes the free market real. So it makes everything get cheaper sort of over time. But they often say this, don't they? And I think we were speaking about this last episode, is that by things getting cheaper in the future, it would stop spending, which could create massive issues, sort of thing, because no one's going to spend money. But the point that I was just reading in the big print, what's his name again? Lawrence Lepard. He
Lawrence
was sort of
Lepard,
saying,
yeah.
yeah, he was saying, but I still want to buy a TV
Exactly,
because I
yeah.
want to watch stuff like, I want to watch football, like whatever the current stuff is that you want to watch. I still need to eat, so I'm still going to buy food. I can't just wait 3 years to buy these eggs because I know they're going to be cheaper. Like I need to eat this week, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the point he was making. But exactly like what you're saying there is that it's like, do I really want to buy this car? Because if I just bought Bitcoin this time in 3-4 years, I could buy two cars or like,
Yeah.
a much nicer car or whatever it is, or, and
Well,
also at the same time, the car technology would get better. And so the car that you could buy for the same price would actually be better, if you know what I mean. So
exactly. I mean, a car
it's
is just going to
that
go
is the
down in
issue.
price. I've got a friend who's just got out a £10,000 loan to buy their car off, and I was thinking, what, 10,000 quid? Like, you're going to buy your car so you own it, but in like 3 or 5 years, that car is going to be worth barely anything. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, just put that in Bitcoin and drive a crappy banger like me,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Well,
But
yeah,
my
that's
car
exactly
is
it.
like so bad now that it's it's scraping the floor basically in terms of,
No.
with the MOTs, and it's not worth anything, but it's still cracking on for now. One day I'll have to bite the bullet. But in terms of like savings, I realize in the week that I can only save in Bitcoin because I don't know. I think it's like a psychological thing. If I've bought Bitcoin and I've saved it and I've put it on my hardware wallet or whatever, I'm not going to touch that then
Mm.
because it's like, well, I'm going to have to go through the process of, you know, um, selling that for some cash, and then I'll have to do
Paying
some
tax
paying
and
tax at the minute because I'm
all that.
discharging this asset and all that, and that whole faff. I'm thinking, I'm not going to do that. That's my long-term savings account. But I've been selling some bits and bobs on eBay, and I don't know if you've used eBay recently, but they do this thing called credit now. So let's say you sell something, like I sold something for 60 quid, right? And instead of just paying you instantly like they used to pay you with like PayPal or whatever, then they paid you into your bank. Now they have this thing called eBay credit, which stays on your account. It's effectively like a gift voucher, right? So it stays on your account for 3 months, and then after 3 months it automatically withdraws to your bank, or you can instantly withdraw it. But when you add something to your basket on eBay, it says, how do you want to pay? Credit card, PayPal, or do you want to use eBay credit? So there's me thinking, oh, eBay credit, like if I buy this thing in my basket, it says how much to pay, use my credit, zero. I'm thinking, oh, this is like free money. This is well
So
good.
how
There's
does that work? Is it just kind of
no,
like
no. eBay basically,
Klarna?
no, eBay. If you sold something on eBay, eBay will hold the money
Got
for
you, got
you
you,
as
got you.
credit, but it's not. It's 100% your money. They just hold it for you, but it seems like play money because it acts
Yeah,
like a voucher. So
yeah,
I did it this week, and I sold something for 60 quid, and like I don't know how you do it, but I save things in my basket. Like I'll just, oh, that looks good. I'll save it for later. Put it in my basket. But then I got to it. I was like, oh, I've got a £60 voucher, credit.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking,
It's
I
clever,
want that.
isn't it?
I want that book, and it's
Psychologically. Whereas
it's
if that was in
psychological.
Bitcoin, yeah,
Exactly, it's
yeah,
psychological. And I was like, oh, if I buy this now to pay zero, it says it's zero. It's going to be basically a free book. It's not a free book. That's
yeah.
100% cash, which I could have. But in my head, and do you know what? I just bought like 4 books, and all that cash went. And then I realized I was like, I can't. This to me, I can't save in this. Like,
Yeah.
but I also have it where if I've um if I've had, for some reason, I've got like a decent amount in my current account, you know, let's say I've just been paid or whatever, I think, oh yeah, I'm quite comfortable, you know, this month. I'm more prone to spending it. I think, well, yeah, I'm a bit. Whereas I'm actually better at saving when I've got less in the account because I think, oh, I've only got a few $100, you know, until I get paid. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy these extra things. I'm not going to go and do this. So to me, that works better. And if I'm not in that situation, I've realized that sometimes it's best to just kind of buy a bit of Bitcoin to put myself in that situation. And it's a psychological change. It's because I'm such a consumer and such like a blooming, you know, I like buying shiny new things. That's just what I'm like. But the only thing that will stop me is if I've literally not got much money in my account. Because as you say, I'm not going to then transfer Bitcoin back to buy a book or whatever. Does that make sense?
You say it's you're a consumer, but this is the thing. I think everyone, like, we've literally been trained to do this. Like, so
Yeah.
I think I've kind of always missed a bit of that gene. Like, I think my dad has kind of always instilled it into me. He's very, very similar. Like, just has no, like, we'll both spend money. Like, so, you know, like, for example, like our car, like, I would just buy. I don't care about cars. It's purely to get from A to B, but I'd rather spend more so that I'm not constantly repairing it, sort of thing. And it's not the type of car. And like, I'll research and find the cheapest car that is reliable, if you know what I mean,
Yeah,
and,
I know what you
and
mean.
can
Yeah.
fit our needs, sort of thing. But it has to, you know. So, but my point that I was going to say is, I think like what you're doing with your channel is so good and it's so relatable. And I think what I've said to you as well before is that when you start, when you really go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and everything, it just forces good habits. So
Mm-hmm.
exactly like you say, is like once you've saved that Bitcoin, it's saved. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's whereas most people have no savings, like
Yeah.
zero, and they're living off credit and literally like living month to month sort of thing, paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not only made you better at saving, it's made you go and make more money, you know, by just
Mm-hmm.
Uber Eats and
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
Yeah.
Whereas most people would just sit on the sofa all evening and watch TV. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what they would do every day, all day, every day, sort of thing. Whereas, and that's my point of like how Bitcoin that is the free market working. Like, that is what would happen if everyone was living in a free market. You would want to add value, you'd want to make more, and you'd also at the same time you'd want to save or like stop spending it on frivolously on crap. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sure, people would still go on holiday, sure, people would still spend money and actually do things that are fun and what they want to do. But yeah, for a long time now, I value like all of my spending on experiences rather than stuff. So
Okay.
like, I remember years ago try really instilling this, like even with my wife, like speaking to her a lot about it and saying like, we spoke about a lot about like our values and things like that. And we both really valued things like travel and, you know, going and actually doing stuff way more so than physical materials.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the physical materials, it's great like once you first get it, but then it's kind of like, you know, can't really
Yeah,
do much with
exactly.
that. Whereas
Yeah.
particularly when we were living in Qatar, we had more expendable income. We would always like try and have some sort of trip lined up. So we always had that to look forward to. And then also then when you go on the trip, you like have the fun and like the
Mm.
experience. And then also then you have the memories and like, you know, it's
And it
just
gives you something to save for as well, I guess.
exactly. Yeah. And what
Mm.
we were noticing is it made us just, you know, like all those times you go to the shop or you're browsing on the internet, or whatever it is that you're doing. It's like, do I really need to do that? And it's like, well, actually, if I could just not spend this, then I could have a nicer meal when we go and
Yeah.
travel or something like that, you know, and you've always got that thing to convert it to. And it's the same with Bitcoin. Like, it's
Mm.
like, should I go and buy this or should I put it in Bitcoin? And this time in 4 years, I'd be able to get a much better one or
Exactly. Yeah.
twice as much or, you know, whatever it is. And I think that's the thing that's so underrated about Bitcoin or saving in like a sound money than anything else. I think that's not talked about enough.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it just forces
I,
good habits, really.
Yeah, it changes you basically, because you have to then assess everything about yourself. I think it's like, do I
Exactly.
really need this when I could buy this? Which I didn't have that kind of, I didn't have that thing before I discovered Bitcoin. I was, but now I have.
But also
Uh,
you did, like, because you said, towards the end of the month when you're running out of money, you stop doing it. So it's always
that's a
there
good point.
within
Yeah.
you. Do you know what I mean? It's just that when we, just as human nature, we are like, when push comes to shove, we figure shit out like when we have to.
Yeah.
We leave things to the last minute. I don't know if you've ever seen that TED talk on like the procrastination monkey. I can't
No.
remember his name, but it's so accurate. It's like basically you've got a deadline. So I think he was talking more about like if you're doing a project at uni or school or whatever it is, it's 2 months away until you've got to hand in whatever the work is that you need to do. And for those first 2 months, you think, oh yeah, I can just sort of, you plan it. You're like, I could do this much this week, this week, this week, and then it will all be done at the end, sort of thing. And so you plan it all out and you spend time doing that, and then you get you've got like, you sit down to do your work, and then I just quickly check the football score, and then I just do this. And basically the procrastination monkey just distracts you with tons of stuff all the
Yeah.
time until it's a day before the thing and you're like, I haven't done anything yet. And
Yeah.
then they're like, I can't remember what he calls it, but basically like the monster comes out and like just forces you to do it. And that's just human nature. I think we sometimes think, oh yeah, I'm not very good at this, or I'm not very, but everyone is the same. That
Okay.
is, we always take the path of least resistance. We always, and so, but when push comes to shove, like you literally have 20 quid in your bank account, you can't go and just buy whatever it is that you want to buy, sort of thing. So it's there for all of us. It's just trying to set up habits and systems. And that's why like dollar cost average is just always going to win compared to any other fancy method that people come out with, like for how they should buy Bitcoin. Just dollar cost average, because then you don't even need to think about it. Like if you make £2,000 a month, 200 quid goes straight into Bitcoin before anything else. It's almost like a tax kind of thing. And it's just set up systems so that it automatically does it, and then you don't need to think about it, sort of thing, because we make terrible decisions all the time.
Yeah. I know what you mean. With my like Uber Eats stuff, I do think I'm like, right, I've got to go and deliver this for £3. But in my head, I'm thinking, well, I'm putting all this into Bitcoin. So in 10 years' time, this will be like, 20 quid or 30 quid. I'm thinking, I'll do it for that. Let's go and do it. You know what I mean?
But yeah, well, it's trying to convert it to sats, isn't it? What's that, like 3,000 sats?
Yeah.
Who knows what that's going to be worth at some point. But I do think at some stage, it will be like 1 to 1, 1 sat, $1 like equivalent at some stage.
Yeah.
In today's purchasing power as well. So, it's like £3,000 almost, sort of thing. Is like, that's how I would look at it when I see that at some stage. I mean, that's just not near future. I'm not like,
so that would be
crazy.
Would that be one Bitcoin is $100 million?
Yeah. Like and people are like, yeah, but that's crazy. But the thing is, it's not like it's like Jeff Booth kind of shows this as well, is that in today's purchasing power, Bitcoin is already worth basically like 43 million or something like that. Like that's what it's actually worth. But the thing is, it will also, in the free market, everything will be getting cheaper as well. So even though it might be 43 million, like, so that's the reason that he works that out, is like, what, 900 trillion of dollars floating around in the world. And Bitcoin is repricing that, as long as it stays decentralized and secure, is what he always says. So as long as we basically self-custody it and hold it in, run our own node.
Yeah.
Ideally mining as well. The more I'm researching, the more I think doing our own form of mining is going to be super important.
Okay.
Just to keep, I think a lot of these spam wars issues, actually, I think that's the actual solution. Although, again, it wouldn't be anytime soon, because mining pools have such a dominance over it, and all they care about really is the money, because they're businesses. Whereas home miners can set their own filters to filter out all of this spam sort of thing. So if everyone just mined themselves, we could just actually filter out a ton of this spam.
Don't home miners have to join a pool, or is that only if?
But then there's Ocean who allow you to create your own filters, so you can join Ocean, or there's Stratum V2 and there's Datum, which is linked with Ocean. Again,
and is this for solo? Is this for lottery mining, or is this for pool mining?
So if you join Ocean, that's pool mining,
right?
So like the guy in the in our meetup who bought, what was it that, and you said you had bought one,
the Canaan Avalon Nano 3S.
So if you see, like, he showed how much he was making or something, that's obviously he's connected to a pool. You wouldn't make that if you were just solar mining sort of thing. So I'm guessing he's using Ocean. I don't really know, but like if you've just got solar panel or like excess energy in your house already, it's just going to go to, rather than giving it back to the grid, turn it into sats sort of thing. And that's just almost like
it's a no-brainer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think more and more renewable energy is just going to become more and more affordable because of the free market and technology improving.
Or even just
like those heaters. Yeah,
exactly. Heating your home. Like if everybody, instead of having like an electric radiator where they just turn it on, if everybody just had a home Bitcoin miner, which
like we had one in Qatar.
Expensive. Really?
We had like not a Bitcoin one, but we just had like a heater because it would actually get freezing in the winter, like because it's all marble and everything, and we just paid X amount for our bills. So like if I was aware of that, I would have 100% just bought a Bitcoin mining heater because it wouldn't have cost me any more in electricity.
Exactly.
And we used that in the winter anyway. It's only like for a couple of months of the year.
I think it was one of the guys at our group who said that his wife dries the washing on a Bitcoin miner.
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I bought one of those, but then I just couldn't figure it out at all. I spent about 2 days trying to figure out, watching YouTube tutorials, that kind of stuff. In the end, I gave up and I sent it back. But I do want to figure it out because I would like a little home miner and I would like a node as well eventually.
Well, this is why I think getting a node first is so important, because by getting the node, I think it all of those little techie issues that you might have faced with the miner would have been way simpler because you'd have already like figured it out with the node or figured out similar things. It wouldn't be exactly the same, but it would just, I think it would be, I think going from nothing to a node is an easy enough transition, especially if you buy like the Start 9 or whatever. And then going from the node to a miner would make that easier. But going straight from nothing to a miner, which is what you were trying to do, I think that's quite like there's too many steps in like that you've missed sort of thing, if you know what I mean.
That makes sense.
But yeah, no, I just think this it's like you say, it's just like a no-brainer really. Like people will just have this in their home. It would just be part of home.
It was in that Sailor talk in Prague where he's like, oh, in 20 years there's going to be 20 million nodes or whatever he said.
Yeah, well, every business. And this is kind of like what I was saying to you as well. I just think there's such good skills. Like this is why I'm willing to put in the time and effort now, because within a few years, I genuinely think like every business will want their own node, like if they understand it properly. But like, and when I say few, that could be 20, 30, whatever it is. But I mean, that's it's still worth it, in my opinion, to be learning these skills, because once you learn it, like the tech might change slightly, but if anything, it's just going to become easier. So it's going to be useful for so many people, all of like helping your loved ones do it. Like, it's there's endless people that will want to have this eventually.
So noob question, but what are the benefits of having your own node?
It basically means you're totally self-sovereign, in the sense that without a node, a lot of the benefits that people talk about in Bitcoin are not actually possible. That's the simple truth of it. That is in,
You can verify your own transactions, is that?
Yeah, you're still relying on a third
on somebody else's node.
someone else's node. Yeah, so often sense, the exchange or whatever. Whereas if you run your own one, you know, if you've got the whole history already downloaded, which if you run a full node, that is literally what you have to do. Then you are the sole person. It is literally like me handing you cash. Like if you had your own node, I had my own node, and we had our own Bitcoin wallet, and I was sending you Bitcoin. It's the equivalent of me getting physical cash and handing it to you. There's no other middleman involved at all.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's really the biggest thing. But it also then helps to secure the network. It checks transactions. You can create your own filters. So a lot of this spam war issue that is going on now, you can just run your own filters. So if you like the NOTS filters or whatever filters that is, you can just turn them on. You don't even need to, you know, everyone else can be doing their own thing, but if you see Bitcoin as money, you can run the filters as you want to see money.
Can you, if you've got, let's say that I was sending you some Bitcoin on chain, could I then pick, how does it work? Do I select my node to verify that transaction, or would I send it through my node?
So I think that's where like the Sparrow wallet, which is like the software.
Right.
So
okay.
It's basically.
Right. So you'd link a wallet to your node.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And Sparrow then links to whatever your hardware wallet is, but it's really would all be running through Sparrow sort of thing. So as long as you go through Sparrow, which is linked to your node, then that is how it would work, sort of thing.
Interesting. Okay, fine.
I haven't actually done this yet, so
no, well, this is all. This is all
bit that I'm quite excited to do.
New for me to learn as well. Yeah. Have you got your node up and running now, or?
So I'm gonna do it with the Bitcoin way. So it'll be this time in like 2 weeks. I think will be like my final one with them. I've got one next week, which will just be like the start in one, and then I've got like 2 in 1 week, like start of October basically. So
very cool.
Once I do that, you'll actually walk through. The reason is like I know I could use YouTube and go and try and figure out, but like as you saw as well, we're like trying to set up.
I couldn't do it.
It's like I feel like I could.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm using the Bitcoin way now anyway, so I'm just like I may as well just wait for these for the thing. But yeah, here it is. All sat there in the package, ready to go.
Very nice indeed.
That is the node. But yeah, quite looking forward to it really, like because I think it'll just give you that peace of mind. Like once you've set it up, it's like I could just go and do this again. Like I can just go and set this up again, and you're like restoring your wallet and things like that. I've never done that before, so it's just little things like that where it will just give you that confidence.
Yeah,
to be like I could literally lose this and.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
I still know how to like what to do, or I could break it, I could throw it in the water.
Can't remember what podcast I was listening to in the week, but somebody mentioned like this term Schrodinger's Bitcoin. Have you heard that?
No.
Where it's like you've got this Bitcoin, the key is stored on like a hardware wallet, but you haven't looked at it or touched it for 2 years. So you're like, I hope it's still there. I'm not going to check it. Because if I check it, there's a possibility that it's gone, that I can't access it, or that, somebody's robbed it, or it's whatever. But if I don't check it, then it's still technically there. It could be gone, but it's there and it's not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas this podcast was saying it's good to kind of just every couple of years.
Well, this is
make sure it still works. Learn how to recover.
This is the point with it as well, is that it's not what Bitcoin was designed for, is just hodling and doing nothing with. And I remember someone at the meetup saying something about like because I was saying I would like to get some like non-KYC Bitcoin, and he was just saying the thing is though, it's just so hard to keep it non-KYC.
Really?
I guess if you just literally just stored it and did nothing with it. But the reason I understand why he's saying that now is because the way Bitcoin should be used, and hopefully eventually will be used, is that we'll just be using it every day. So like, every time that you're spending anything online, any time that you go anywhere and spend money, is it will be synced to your node. So you could even be out and about, but because your wallet would be, you'd have it synced to like a Lightning wallet, your node. And so you could be out paying with your Lightning wallet, but that's still running through your node. So it might be miles away. You could be in another country, but you're still using your own node, sort of thing. And I was like, yeah, that was a bit, I was like, oh, right, yeah, this is starting to make sense now. This is why you're self-sovereign. This is why you actually do fully own it, and you're not trusting anyone else with it, sort of thing. And I was like, yeah. And my point is, though, if you have any Bitcoin on there, it's going to be super hard to like non KYC it, sort of thing, because it will be linked to, there'll be ways that you can trace that back to whatever wallet it's come from, and it'll make it traceable. Like if you spend it at all, if you spend anything on there, sort of thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I was reading that, I think it was this morning, I was reading that places like the IRS and HMRC, they've all got like, they're going super eyes on crypto now. Like they've got like AI software, which is basically got all eyes on this whole crypto world, because they want a piece of it. So that all of the, if it's KYC'd or anything at all, like they know all of these transactions and they want a piece of that profit, you know.
Sounds about right.
I guess they can't do anything about tax, like about cash. You know, if you're like a plumber,
exactly,
and you just take cash, you know, and you declare a certain amount per year, unless they literally put a car in front of your driveway and track your earnings in real time, like they're not going to be able to dispute it, really.
So
but
yeah,
with the
like
whole crypto, if they've got KYC'd crypto or any crypto, not just Bitcoin, then they're going to be, and they've got AI involved as well. They're going to be able to see a lot more. They'll just be like, ask ChatGPT or whatever they use, you know, Chat HMRC. How much profit has this guy made, and versus what he's declared. Oh, there we go. You owe us X amount.
But this is the thing that is literally insane when you, again, boil it back to first principles and think about it. Like, you think of how much time, effort, money, energy, people, human resources are taken up by tracking people. Like, why don't these people just spend their time, energy, effort, money, resources on making things better?
Like, because they're pathetic little parasites. That's
exactly
why.
So in a free market, there just wouldn't exist.
Yeah,
like there wouldn't be the need for state to track this, because there wouldn't be the need for state at all, sort of thing. Like they're just totally not needed at all. Whereas
it's like they're like a little pest. It's like go away, you little pest. I'm trying to live my life. Go away. Why are you using an AI tool to track how much I owe you for no reason whatsoever? Go away, you pest.
It's just so annoying. Yeah. Like, really, it's so stupid when you think about it. But it's like, it's just so normalized that we just think, oh yeah, no, they need tax. They need to.
When I was doing the Uber the other day, that one of the McDonald's orders had a receipt on it, and it said like, you know, this is the food amount, blah blah blah, and at the bottom it was like tax added, and then that was the total. I was thinking, tax added on that food. So let me get this right. I've earned money and I've paid tax on that money. And then when I go and buy some food, there's tax added to the food that I'm buying as well. But I've already paid tax earning the money.
That's not even the worst bit with McDonald's, is that your tax that you have paid will also subsidize McDonald's. So your tax is basically paying to make that McDonald's food cheaper. And
I mean,
and then also then you're paying tax on that food as well. It's like, it's just the biggest.
Don't even get started on where that tax money actually goes.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
crazy. It actually doesn't really go anywhere in today. It's just helping to
probably mostly pay off the debt.
But it's not even really like it's.
But then
the money
also
just doing that.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Right. Well, half an hour in. Should we get started on the book?
Do some of the...
Right then, we are on chapter 6 of the Bitcoin Standard. I think we're about halfway, almost. Episode 13. We're almost halfway. Chapter 6, Capitalism's Information System. Let me just pull up the screen. Starting it with a nice Hayek quote. The cause of waves of unemployment is not capitalism, but governments denying enterprise the right to produce good money. Shall I start reading, or do you want to read this time?
Read this time?
Go for it, yeah.
Money's primary function as a medium of exchange is what allows economic actors to engage in economic planning and calculation. As economic production moves from the very primitive scale, it becomes harder for individuals to make production, consumption, and trade decisions without having a fixed frame of reference with which to compare the value of different objects to one another. This property, the unit of account, is the third function of money after being a medium of exchange and store of value. Wait, let me just get my head around that. So it's store of value, then medium of exchange, and then unit of account.
Yeah.
So we're currently most likely in the store of value stage still.
I think it was, I was listening to a podcast with Dominic Frisby, because that's, you know, the guy that you read the State book. He's got a new book out on gold. Basically like this, it's called like The Secret History of Gold or something like that, because he's a big gold bug as well as Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And he was talking about this, that gold is currently a unit of account, and countries are now going back to gold, basically. Like China's buying a load of gold, America allegedly has a load of gold. People are, even countries now on nationwide scales know that fiat, the dollars are, nobody wants dollars anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like China wants
100%.
gold. You know, so they're using that gold is a unit of account. He said the same thing. Bitcoin's not there yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah. So to understand the significance of this property to an economic system, we do what wise people always do when seeking to understand economic questions: turn to the work of dead Austrian economists. The use of knowledge in society by Friedrich Hayek is arguably one of the most important economic papers to ever have been written. Unlike highly theoretical, inconsequential, and esoteric modern academic research that is read by nobody, the 11 pages of this paper continue to be read widely 70 years after its publication and have had a lasting impact on the lives and businesses of many people worldwide, perhaps none as significant as its role in the founding of one of the most important websites on the internet and the largest single body of knowledge assembled in human history. Jimmy Wales, Wikipedia's founder, has stated that the idea for establishing Wikipedia came to him after he read this paper by Hayek and his explanation of knowledge. Hayek explains that contrary to popular and elementary treatments of the topic, the economic problem is not merely the problem of allocating resources and products, but more accurately, the problem of allocating them using knowledge that is not given in its totality to any single individual or entity. Economic knowledge and the conditions of production, the relative availability and abundance of the factors of production, and the preferences of individuals is not objective knowledge that can be fully known to a single entity. Rather, the knowledge of economic conditions is by its very nature distributed and situated with the people concerned by their individual decisions. Every human's mind is consumed in learning and understanding the economic information relevant to them. Highly intelligent and hard-working individuals will spend decades learning the economic realities of their industries in order to reach positions of authority over the production processes of one single good. It is inconceivable that all these individual decisions being carried out by everyone could be substituted by aggregating all that information into one individual's mind to perform the calculations for everyone. Nor is there a need for this insane quest to centralize all knowledge into one decision maker's hands. In a free market economic system, prices are knowledge and the signals that communicate information. Each individual decision maker is only able to carry out her decisions by examining the prices of the goods involved, which carry in them the distillation of all market conditions and realities into one actionable variable for that individual. In turn, each individual's decisions will in turn play a role in shaping the price. No central authority could ever internalize all the information that goes into forming a price or replace its function. to understand Hayek's
hang on.
point.
So
Go on.
this is basically the exact opposite of Keynesianism, like where he believed that for a a functioning economy, you need complete centralized control over everything from the top down, whereas what Hayek is describing is organic, bottom up, free market, decentralized way of doing it with no centralized power.
The thing that really baffles me is that it just makes so much more sense, and I don't understand why more people don't see it. Like it's, I guess, because most people just don't actually even know what Austrian or Keynesian economics even is.
I mean, it's definitely a nerdy thing to. I mean, economics. Like who studies economics? That's like, do you know what I mean? But I think it's. I was thinking about this morning that, let's say you've got like, I've got a pound here. Look, pound coin. The amount of people that would think, where does this actually come from? Why is this? Why can I buy food with this? What makes this valuable and a piece of paper not valuable? That's such like a grand question. It's like questioning like why do things fall down on the earth, like gravity or something. It's such a large, it's already kind of it's ingrained into the culture and society that this is money. This thing is money. There we go. I don't need to question that. It's such a huge thing, such an ingrained, normalized thing. The average Joe wouldn't question. It's literally like questioning gravity.
And this is honestly why like kids are just such an insight into real world stuff. So my daughter the other day, we were walking back from school, and I don't know, they must have been talking about money or something. She's 5 now, so she's just gone into year 1. And she said, my teacher said that this was special. Like, so I don't know why she had a pound coin or something. And then she asked about like she was like, but what about like the paper ones, like the ones that you sometimes use? Very rarely, to be fair, in today. She was like, are they special as well? And I said, well, what do you think? It's made out of paper. She was like, it's made out of paper. She was like, so could I just go home and could I just draw on some paper and do the same thing? Like, and then would that be special? I was like, what do you think? And just like trying to get her understanding of it rather than me enforcing my own opinions on it and just seeing where it went. And it was just fascinating, like how logical she is. She was like, so it's just a piece of paper. And she was like, so there's nothing special about it. And she was like, well, why do people say it's special then? And then I was explaining it's like what people accept, that's what people accept is real. And then I asked her, like, have you heard of Bitcoin? Yeah, I've heard you say about Bitcoin before. And she was like, that's the most special money, isn't it? I was like, yeah.
Well done.
And I was like, why do you think that's the most special? She's like, I don't know. I was like, do you know what Bitcoin looks like or anything? And she's like, is it a coin? Because it's got coin in it. And so she was saying, but it's not like this coin, is it? It's like, it's much more special than this coin. I was like, yeah. I was like, do you know what makes it special again? And she was all like, not really. She didn't really give me an answer.
That's very interesting. You'll get a lecture in her teachers.
And then I was just saying, the main thing that makes it special is that it's scarce. There's only, well, I didn't say scarce. I said there's a limited amount. Like like no one can make any more. Whereas with this paper, this, like you said, we could just go and print loads, and then as long as they get the special printing on it and this like the special stamp, and I showed her like the different parts of it and things. I was like, if they get that, then we can make as much as we want. Whereas with Bitcoin, there's only a set amount and no one can ever make more. And I was like, so which one do you think is more special? And it was just like, it was just so amazing. I was like, she's
very
5
interesting,
and she already understands things better than
she'll probably have
everyone.
like just a very kind of untainted view of things. Like why does this make sense? She's not gone through those years of
exactly. So whereas it's so hard to have that same conversation with an adult because they have to unlearn everything.
Exactly,
for him to figure it out. Whereas for a 5-year-old, it's just like, okay, well, this is
a question.
You must be telling me the truth.
Somebody left a comment, and in fact, I wrote it down, so I was going to talk about it. The question was, why don't people challenge the current monetary system or see its failings? And I was like, that's an interesting question. That's quite a deep. Why don't people challenge it, and why don't people see its failings? I mean, I've got my own thoughts on it, but people aren't taught to look in that direction. Not only are they not taught, but they're kind of actively dissuaded away from looking in that direction as well.
Yeah, and also they're taught
Because if you've got
believe everything, and so
that,
like
exactly,
and
yeah.
even
Believe
with
authority.
what when my daughter was like saying this stuff, I was very aware like I don't want to tell her the answer. Like so,
You
I
asking
sort of said
questions.
so this one so Bitcoin has a limited amount, whereas paper we can print as much of it as we want. I was like, so which one do you think's more special? And she was like, well, Bitcoin, because like why, how is this paper special? I can't remember the exact words she said. She didn't say it like this,
Yeah.
but you know, she was sort of like, if I can just go and draw this on a piece of paper, that doesn't make it special, you know? And I was like, yeah, exactly. So it's trying to like help her to think rather than giving her the answer. Whereas we're taught like the whole education system is literally teacher gives you the answer, you regurgitate the answer, don't think for yourself, don't, whatever you do, don't speak to a friend while you're in a test, because that's copying and that's cheating. Like, you know, don't have a conversation about it, don't use your brain, just
exactly, yeah,
regurgitate
info.
Exactly. And so that's, I mean, I think that's why
it's one of those things where if people literally figure out, it's like, right, so from a child's perspective, it would be like, okay, so I've got to go to work now when I'm older, and I'm going to work for something that somebody else can just print for free out of thin air. And if I want to take a loan on that, I have to then pay interest on that they can print for free. How does that work? To even a child, that doesn't make any sense. That's a scam. Like, so trying to get people away from that and think, no, don't worry about that. Don't worry about the banking, you know, the monetary system. Let's just get worried about, you know, whoever, some other group, some other scapegoat. But anyway,
and if you just say like, oh, so you're gonna to do well through school, you have to get good grades, go to university, which would then put you in a heap of debt. That the only way you can pay for that debt is by going and getting a job and working in that job until you can't really do very much anymore. And then hopefully you'll have paid off that debt. And then also you should definitely buy a house, because then you can get into more debt. Like it just keeps you trapped. Whereas it's like, just why don't you just not get into debt? Like you live, so you live with your parents up until whatever age, and then why don't you just try and start making money, or like, you know, come up with some different way, like add value somehow. Like 12-year-olds can easily just go and cut someone's grass and get paid for it. Like there's tons of things that they can do to make money. You don't have to have any special skills to do tons of things. Like, but we're not taught that. That's not normal. It's weird. It's frowned upon. And like, you know, the way to do it is go and get into a load of debt, and then you might have a slightly better chance of actually getting a job. But not really today, because everyone's doing it, and it's
everybody's got a degree, so it doesn't mean anything when everybody's got it.
Again, it's just not questioned. It's just like, this is how things are.
We'll continue. I think to understand Hayek's point.
To understand Hayek's point, picture the scenario of an earthquake badly damaging the infrastructure of a country that is the world's major producer of a commodity, such as the 2010 earthquake in Chile, which is the world's largest producer of copper. As the earthquake hit a region with extensive copper mines, it caused damage to these mines and to the seaport from which they are exported. This meant a reduction in the supply of copper to the world markets and immediately resulted in a 6.2% rise in the price of copper. Anybody in the world involved in the copper market will be affected by this, but they do not need to know anything about the earthquake, Chile, and the conditions of the market in order to decide how to act. The rise in the price itself contains all the relevant information they need. Immediately, all the firms demanding copper now have an incentive to demand a smaller quantity of it, delay purchases that weren't immediately necessary, and find substitutes. On the other hand, the rising price gives all firms that produce copper anywhere around the world an incentive to produce more of it, to capitalize on the price rise. Just on that point as well, I've mentioned Cabell Finance to you recently a few times. He often says a very similar thing. It's like he has no interest in the news, the narrative, the story around anything. He just looks at the prices and that determines his actions. And I was like, that's so interesting, actually. And it's crazy how much it works. Like he does not use like any fundamental stuff at all. Like he has fundamental knowledge of markets and things, but he doesn't exactly like what Hayek's saying here, though. The prices determine what your action should be. Okay. And that makes so much sense.
Yeah, there's always a narrative. I just remember, I think it was like 2021 or something. There was so many like narratives around why the prices are going up. Did you remember those? Like there was a boat stuck in the Suez Canal, so the prices of all. It's like just whatever narratives. It's like, no, you've told everybody to stop working and you've printed a load more cash.
Yeah, that's why.
That's it. It's like, oh yeah, but there's this conflict in this foreign country.
Yeah, it's because there's this Russia, canal, Ukraine,
it's
war.
Like these are just narratives, slop narratives to justify. But there's always has to be a narrative like threaded to the public. So they don't look at the foundational currency.
Keep them distracted, like you were saying, the rage bait of like Twitter and stuff. Keep you focused on arguing with other people online about pointless stuff.
I mean, I was watching this. Do you remember that politician called? I think his name's Nick Griffin in the UK. He was the BNP guy. Do you remember him?
No, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching this clip of him. It was probably over 10 years ago now. He's not even a politician anymore, but I thought it was quite an interesting clip. He basically came out in public and said that he was offered a deal where, with his party, who were quite right wing, this deal was they said, right, we'll fund your party if you concentrate heavily on Muslims, but on the one condition that you don't mention the banking system. And
no way.
Yeah, that was the thing. And I was like, that's very interesting that he's come out after he's been a politician, he's finished, and he said that somebody offered him that deal. Concentrate on this thing over here, but don't talk about the banking system. But then you get so many politicians nowadays that are doing just that, It's like who took his place? People like Tommy Robinson. He's just hyper focused on Muslims, but never talk about money creation or the banking system. That's just something I'm thinking. That's interesting, as you've said before. Until a politician literally starts talking about the banking system and how money's created, there's no votes from me. I think the first one in America, maybe not the first one, but the most recent one was Ron Paul in America. Have you ever looked into that guy? His main thing was like end the Fed. That was his main. I think at one point he was even running for president. But
I do feel like if someone if Ron Paul ran again now, or like the same persons that, I feel like they would have a lot more backing, a lot more understanding. I just think it was the right thing, just at the slightly wrong time.
Yeah, I was looking into this a little bit where, I think I asked ChatGPT, I was like, have there been any politicians in recent years that have called out the banking system? And there's been a couple of like these Reform UK ones that have said, we're gonna ban quantitative easing and that kind of stuff. And I think it even said Jeremy Corbyn did it at some point where he was wanting to stop money printing or something along those lines, but none of those politicians have managed to actually get power or anything. So
yeah, I did a similar thing with the Fed, actually, like diving into like who the chair people are of the Fed, and what their like economic background is and stuff, and like all six of them are very heavily Keynesian, obviously. But I think Greenspan was sort of not before, but then when he came into power there, then he turned much more like Keynesian. So I thought that was quite interesting. Like there has been someone in the Fed's history who
Yeah,
was more of an
Greenspan.
Austrian economic person.
There was a famous quote with him where he was big into Ayn Rand back in the day. And I think it was on an Adam Curtis documentary. Have you ever watched any Adam Curtis documentaries?
No.
You need to watch every single one of them. That was like
Adam Curtis.
Adam Curtis, yeah, so sick. He basically does like long form deep dives into like geopolitics and like history and everything really, but super interesting. He said that Greenspan has been quoted as saying like he's got no what was the quote? Something like no confirmation that he isn't the only. Basically, do you know what solipsism is? Where like he thinks that he could be the only person on Earth, and he's just there's no objectivity outside of his reality. That I'm thinking, right? So this is the guy that's running the Fed. I'll try and find that quote. If you continue on, I'll try and find that one.
With the simple increase in the price, everyone involved in the copper industry around the world now has the incentive to act in a way that alleviates the negative consequences of the earthquake. Other producers supply more while consumers demand less. As a result, the shortage caused by the earthquake is not as devastating as it could be, and the extra revenue from the rise in prices can help the miners rebuild their infrastructure. Within a few days, the price was back to normal. As global markets have become more integrated and larger, such individual disruptions are becoming less impactful than ever, as market makers have the depth and liquidity to get around them quickly with the least disruption. To understand the power of prices as a method of communicating knowledge, imagine that the day before the earthquake, the entirety of the global copper industry stopped being a market institution and was instead given over to be under the command of a specialized agency, meaning production is allocated without any recourse to prices. How would such an agency react to the earthquake? Of all the many copper producers worldwide, how would they decide which producers should increase their production and by how much? In a price system, each firm's own management will look at the prices of copper and the prices of all inputs into its production and come up with an answer to the most efficient new level of production. Many professionals work for decades in a firm to arrive at these answers with the help of prices, and they know their own firm far more than central planners who cannot resort to prices. Further, how will the planners decide on which consumers of copper should reduce their consumption and by how much, when there are no prices allowing these consumers to reveal their preferences? No matter how much objective data and knowledge the agency might collect, it can never know all the dispersed knowledge that bears on the decisions that each individual carries out, and that includes their own preferences and valuations of objects. Prices, then, are not simply a tool to allow capitalists to profit. They are the information system of economic production, communicating knowledge across the world and coordinating the complex processes of production. Any economic system that tries to dispense with prices will cause the complete breakdown of economic activity and bring a human society back to a primitive state. Interesting.
Yeah, it seems like these extreme top-down systems always fall apart eventually.
Yeah, I like that last sentence. Any economic system that tries to dispense with prices will cause the complete breakdown of economic activity and bring a human society back to a primitive state. So what does that mean? Like, go back to just barter? Like, no,
it could be, yeah.
No form of like society. Just so that's kind of what
would this be like price fixing? I heard something once that like in socialism,
right?
having governments fix prices across all industries is very much this kind of thing. So the governments fix prices from a top down. They say, right, this is how much an egg costs. This is how much grain cost.
Well, that's kind of what happened in, was it after World War One? So this was kind of what the downfall of the British pound, with because there was the money printing, but the governments were still saying how much things needed to be, and like how much wages needed to be and things like that. Whereas
Okay.
the farmers couldn't afford the
Yeah.
wages, and they had to burn crops
Was
and
it
all
called? Was
sorts.
this the agricultural depression or something like that?
Yeah, is that what it led to? Like obviously the Great Depression, the end of the 20s and everything, and that
Yeah,
was
I
what
remember hearing
caused
about
it.
this.
Was basically because prices were inflated artificially high. Hardly anyone could buy it, and farmers basically had to like destroy potatoes, whereas everyone was starving and going hungry,
Right.
but they couldn't
Okay.
afford the prices. Whereas if they just dropped the prices,
Yeah.
way more people could have bought it. Farmers could have hired people easier. Like it would have been like, everything would have worked way better if the prices were just allowed to go to their natural market price. But because they kept them artificially high, people couldn't buy them. People were going hungry. Farmers were having to burn it. They couldn't hire employees because they couldn't make enough money, sort of thing. And so they couldn't farm as much. And it's just like a spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prices are the only mechanism that allows trade and specialization. Did you find that thing, by the way?
No, I can't find it. Basically, he was big into like self-interest, which I believe is this whole like Randian worldview. But he's very much like hardcore atheist. But yeah, I mean, who were the people on the board of the Fed that you were reading
Currently, I just asked like who are I think there's 6 members or something.
Yeah,
There's obviously
I'm sure
is the main guy,
yeah.
and then there's a few others. But I was asking like,
Who the
I went through the
shareholders?
history and stuff like that, and basically I was trying to find out, has there been anyone that's more like Austrian that has been part of the Fed?
Yeah, and what was the answer?
Well, I think Greenspan. I don't think he was Austrian like as such, but his views on money changed when he became part of the Fed. Basically, was
Yeah, I'm
what
sure.
I found out.
Yeah.
So he was more real world, realistic about things, and then got into power,
entered into the club.
Had to change. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. Very interesting. Yeah, I reckon like the Fed shareholders. I was reading this book about like the history of the Fed, where the shareholders were completely private. It was basically divvied up along these banking families back in the day that started it. It was like the Warburgs. I can't remember. I think Schiff was another name.
That explains Peter Schiff.
I was thinking that, but this is a dude that was like 100 years ago. But I was thinking, is there any correlation? Is it the same?
To be
family?
fair, Schiff's like, he's different to that Keynesian, isn't he?
He's more even
though he's just so silly with Bitcoin and just refuses to admit it. But
he's a gold guy, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Although he's not actually, like most of his wealth is actually tied up in like stocks and shares, and
really,
he has like, the balanced portfolio. So he has like 5% of his wealth in gold, but obviously he has a gold business which sells gold stuff. Yeah. So that's why he pushes it so hard.
I reckon he's probably got some secret Bitcoin.
Oh, his son definitely. I'm fairly sure I've seen that before. Like his son has. And his son has tried to convince him or something. Like that was like a clickbaity headline I'm sure I saw once, but he's just in denial. But yeah, anyway. Prices are only the mechanism that allows trade and specialization to occur in a market economy. Without resort to prices, humans could not benefit from the division of labor and specialization beyond some very primitive small scale. Trade allows producers to increase their living standards through specialization in the goods in which they have a comparative advantage, goods which they can produce at a lower relative cost. Only with accurate prices expressed in a common medium of exchange is it possible for people to identify their comparative advantage and specialize in it. Specialization itself, guided by price signals, will lead to producers further improving their efficiency in the production of these goods through learning by doing, and more importantly, accumulating capital specific to it. In fact, even without inherent differences in the relative costs, specialization would allow each producer to accumulate capital relevant to their production and thus increase their marginal productivity in it, allowing them to decrease their marginal cost of production and trade with those who accumulate capital to specialize in other goods. Interesting.
Yeah, it's tough to get your head around this bit. Should we call it a day there? Because this next one, it looks like a big chapter. Socialism, capital market socialism.
Yeah, that seems like a good place to stop.
That's going to be a big one.
Yeah, I'm actually interested in this. I've learned more about socialism definitely since reading this. So
yeah, I think it's a good thing. One. It doesn't sound like a nice thing. Yeah,
I think it's good in theory. I think they mean well.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, they mean well. Yeah, but you know,
well, like the theory of it, you know, it's like,
I mean, it sounds good. Like, oh yeah, let's just have everybody be equal and everybody, you know, it's like, but that's about when I've spoken to people at work about this kind of thing who are on this side, like, you know, like communism and socialism, that's about as deep as their knowledge goes. When I try to ask them, okay, well, what is it about it? Oh, you know, just like fair, just have everybody, you know, everybody's fair got enough food, and like I'm thinking
that's what I mean. In theory, it sounds quite good.
Yeah, but that's as deep as it goes. It sounds like it's like a child's knowledge of it.
Well, yeah, the Tuttle Twins has a book on that actually, and they use it like in I think it's a circus, and there's like a strong man or something, and so he was getting paid more. He had like extra benefits, and like the clowns were like, "This is unfair," blah blah blah, and like the circus, whatever he's called, the main guy, the owner of the circus, was like, "I'm not paying this much anymore," and the strong man was like, "Well, I'm leaving then." And so basically, what ended up happening is less and less people came to the circus because that was a big reason why they wanted to come. They couldn't afford to pay the clowns, and it was just a downward spiral where they was about to like close the circus down, and then the twins go and find him and like try and encourage him to come back, like the strong man and stuff. And it's basically just talking about socialism. Like this guy puts in what, like, anyone can be a clown. It's super easy. You just clown around on the stage sort of thing. You know, like anyone can do that. Whereas to get as strong and lift what this guy can, he has to train super hard. He puts in way more effort.
Yeah.
He has to eat way more. So he needs the benefits and privileges he was getting, and that makes it fair. And because he puts in way more effort, he attracts the crowd, which actually pays for the clowns. So without him, the clowns would just be out of a job.
It just makes sense. It makes complete sense. It's like, you know,
it's
we're
like,
reading this book.
For a 5-year-old could understand that.
Exactly.
Then...
You know, we're reading this book. Well, me and you are reading this because we don't understand this material. But Seyfriedin wrote this thing. He's got a lot more knowledge on this stuff. He's done the work on it, so he should deserve more money. Do you know what I mean? Like,
like anyone can read this.
The guy should be rewarded for his work. It just makes sense.
What they do. That's exactly it. Very true.
But yeah, I don't fully understand it either, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Not that that's an argument against it, you know, but we'll delve into it next week. Should we call it a day?
Yeah.
Do you want to give your channels a shout out?
Yep, Bitcoin straight up. The road to 1 Bitcoin.
I'm on the road to 1 Bitcoin. You can also find me on Nostr at NPUB1YCB. Follow me. NPUB1YCVSX.
Did you see that guy who did that?
I did, yeah.
Was that Robert Breedlove's one?
Yeah. Just reading out the whole thing.
Just type in Mike BT and you can find me on there.
There we go.
On Nostr.
Right then, brother. See you next time.
All right. See you, mate.